I hate starting with like the trite question of how it came together, but I'm gonna start. I'd like to start with the origin story, but I'd love to put an emphasis on the why. And the reason is because I feel like docs now, I'm going to try to not just nerd out on like just filmmaking stuff. So, but like I said, bear with
full
me.
nerd.
Okay, cool.
Love it.
Docs now have almost their own genre of like the celebrity documentary. So in the context of sharing the origin story of this, I'd love individually also the why for you to participate in this, because it does, there's a lot of docs that get financed and get made, but it's lacking narrative and it's lacking story. There is a narrative here. So I'd love to hear individually, in the context of the origin story, the why.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of Unanimous. Stephen Curry is my partner. The company's been around for about 5 years, and one of the things that we do is we try to inspire through media. Like that is our objective. That's why Stephen started the company with me, is really to inspire. And so when we think about how to inspire, obviously when we're going through our slate, when we're thinking about other stories, he's sitting right there, right across from me. So we were in a development meeting, and we started thinking about the Davidson run. And with Steph, he's a ponderer, right? He doesn't necessarily give you a yes or a no. He sits back and he thinks about it, and he sort of starts to talk to himself. And so I brought up the Davidson run, and he sat back and he was like, it's been about 10 years since, he does the math on it. And he said, yeah, we should pursue that. And then I called this guy, and he got excited about it. And so once Ryan gets excited about it, then this is a real thing. This is a story that can 100% inspire and break barriers and do all the things that we want to do at Unanimous. So for me as a producer, and I'm sort of a traditional producer in that sense. Like my job is to look for the momentum, and once something has momentum, my job is to try to keep it. So.
Yeah, I got involved when EP gave me the call out of the blue. I'm from the Bay Area, been a Warriors fan my whole life, and we had like some real dark times. Had dark decades, you know what I'm saying? So we love Steph for being such a bright spot for us and bringing us so much joy as a community, and had gotten to know him a little bit, and so I was honored that EP thought of us, and we started my partners Zenzi and Sav Ohanian, and I started Proximity like late 2018, and Pete Nix is a friend and colleague, and incredible filmmaker, and we have been toying with the idea of getting into nonfiction formally, and trying to recruit Pete to join the team. He lives like 10 minutes from us. So it was the timing had kind of aligned where we had formalized a relationship with Pete. This project came, Pete kind of had a window, and he had been working like as a filmmaker, kind of like rooted in the study of Oakland and its systems and its communities. He had just finished a incredible trilogy, about really about your everyday Oakland citizens. You know what I mean? Like through the health system, through law enforcement, and through the education system. And when EP kind of approached, it was like, we're gonna do a doc about Steph. I'm like, okay, it's a lot of life there with Steph. You know what I mean? But when he mentioned that they had been doing the work and everything about this Davidson run, one thing he didn't bring up, but you guys just saw it, was that he was trying to go back and get his degree. And I was like, wait a sec, this sounds pretty interesting. And so then I was like, hey man, look, we'd love to talk about Pete Nix as a filmmaker for this, and kind of like kind of had to like sell Pete on him a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it his movies are not, if y'all familiar with his work, and if not, man, go check it out. But it's like hard hitting, ground up journalism. You know what I'm saying? And like this, like you say, like this culture of celebrity doc. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew Pete was gonna have his guard up a little bit. I knew Steph, his name, just for Pete being a Warriors fan as well, get like one arm down. You know what I mean? Like maybe open up the a little bit. But when we talked about it, man, like you should take it away, Pete. But when we talked about it, it became apparent that we might have something.
Yeah, Oakland is my adopted town, and I'm an adopted human being. So, I'm a mixed race kid who was born in Ohio, raised by a black family, went to white private schools, went to Howard University, got in trouble at Howard at the height of the war on drugs, was incarcerated, got out of prison, went into recovery, married a refugee from Laos, and had 2 beautiful children, and I went to Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism to study documentary film, is where I kind of came of age and found myself, but also found a place in a community that reflected my own story, this sort of kaleidoscopic notion of humanity that we were trying to navigate as parents, that my kids were trying to navigate coming of age, that this entire community. And so I fell in love with Oakland. And as Ryan said, like my films are, very much not celebrity, profiles. The reason why I joined Proximity was partly because of this remarkable human being sitting next to me and his vision for how he wanted to tell stories and try to reframe storytelling from perspective. And that was something that I very much valued and wanted to sort of join in. And when I heard about this project and I started learning more about Stefan, and even the first time I met him over at the Chase Center and sitting down with him, he looked directly in my eyes, and he was very present, and there was an authenticity and a realness to him that I sort of recognized. And while he's not an institution, he is an institution of sorts in the Bay Area. And then when I learned about when he sort of lit up and he got his phone out and he started showing me pictures from Davidson, he didn't want to talk about the Warriors. He wanted to talk about Davidson College and his coming of age. And I recognized that this was going to be somewhat different. And I also recognized that there was something unknown here, which is a big part of all of my projects, which are vérité projects. He had tried to get his degree in the past. He had made this promise to his mother. He couldn't do it. He tried to do it during the lockout. That was definitely not a guarantee. And we weren't even thinking, although I think I did say in a meeting, I said, just keep our eye on the season, because you never know. And what you see, you cannot take for granted sort of what you saw on the screen. That was not planned. This just sort of happened. And that's sort of what gets me going as a documentarian, is trying, that discovery and being able to share that with an audience.
Ryan kind of referenced some of your previous work, which is brilliant in my opinion. There's a ton of talent on this stage right here, so I'm just trying to absorb the talent right now.
And you as well, T.
No. But to Ryan's point, some of your previous works, I'm thinking specifically of the Oakland trilogy, navigates kind of spaces, environments, ecosystems, systems, and then it feels like, and I don't want to be presumptuous, and then character evolves from there. You find character inside of that. How did you think about the approach for this when it's seemingly character first? Did that change your approach in any way? And I'm just curious how you thought about it.
It was a little dicey, to be totally honest. I was very nervous because Stefan's company was attached to the project, and typically you just don't do that. As a documentarian, particularly coming from a journalistic background, you don't partner with the subjects of your films. But it became pretty clear that we were going to be given freedom to find the story as we were discovering it, and it was a little bit. I think it was even dicey with you a little bit, Ryan. Like, you know, this notion of like, well, who are we? Are we going to have Allen Iverson? Are we going to interview Allen Iverson? Are we going to interview Muggsy Bogues? Are we going to interview like a murderer's row of like, you know, celebrities talking about how amazing Steph is and how he's changed the
Muggsy
game?
Bogues because of height?
I mean,
is there something else?
They knew each other. That was like,
okay. All right.
No.
All right.
Well, that one actually works because he was connected to the family. We actually did interview Muggsy, but because they won the NBA championship, a lot of stuff didn't make it into the movie. But that was one of the first things that I had to do was basically try to communicate to everyone that we wanted to stay focused on this time at Davidson, the impact that this community has. So much of my work is about the power of community, the power of family. What's at stake when you don't fully see someone. You know, Ryan made a film called Fruitvale Station, which was about a young black man named Oscar Grant. Absolutely. And that movie is so much about the consequence of not seeing somebody for their full humanity. And while the stakes, you know, Stephen Curry as an athlete, you know, it's a different thing, but it's on the spectrum in terms of, it was the inverse of that. And it was a story about people seeing him, and certain people seeing him in the power of mentorship, the power of family, the power of community, and allowing someone to rise to their full potential. And that's, you know, we knew we wanted to stay focused on that, and that would mean that we're not going to hear from Barack Obama, you know. And, you know, that is part of the trope of sort of a lot of these celebrity documentaries where you have, you know, a line of people, you know, singing the praises. And so to their credit, they allowed us that freedom to take that path.
That was actually one of my questions, and I was hoping I would get some tension here, is because you're 100% right. Like, there's even just from my own experiences, like there tends to be a desire to populate it with other recognizable figures that maybe have nothing to do with the narrative. And then they end up kind of just like underscoring platitudes about like, yeah, they're great. I'm like, I know he's great. Thanks for sharing that with me. Talk to me a little bit about tone, because it is my personal opinion is that it's a really unique sports film in that I think it takes a really sophisticated approach, but it's also really understated. For someone who's so accomplished, it still has an understated approach to it and a tenor to it. And I'd also love to hear from you, Erick, because there's a part of me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I wonder how much of this is also just once you're in the presence of Steph, it's actually kind of a reflection of his, like how he carries himself. So yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. I think when you are with him, that presence is felt. Like everything that you think he is, he kind of lives up to that, right? And maybe even a little bit more. He is the sweetest, the nicest man you will ever be around. When Pete first met him, I think there was like quesadillas in the corner, and he was like, "Hey, you want a quesadilla?" And he went and got him a quesadilla and fixed him a little plate, and then he dropped his plate, and then we had the conversation. But like it's just how he is.
He recovered well from that, though.
He did.
You know,
he did.
I was impressed.
He did. I mean, working with him is just such a joy. It's inspiring. It's and it also affects the culture of the company. You know, we say we're a purpose and profit company, right? And I think that's the way that we want to be. We just want to be. We have a lot of rules. We don't work with assholes. You know, being one of them. But he sort of afforded us that right. You know, to build a company that, you know, he's sort of the reflection point. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And is that did you have that kind of tone in mind, or is that also similarly like once you met him, you decided to take the approach of the film and the tone of the film as a reflection of Steph?
Well, yeah, and my style is it's sort of a show don't tell style, and in that sense, it was actually really hard for me with the interviews, because I tend not to do interviews. But one of the things I noticed about Steph was that he was quite reserved. that he was a little bit low key in sort of his delivery. And we recognized at some point that was actually going to be potentially an asset for the arc of the movie, because as you could see in the film, the totality of his experience reflecting, being in those quiet moments, even the process of sort of making the film was to some degree embedded in that final moment where he broke down in tears, after winning that 4th championship, which, that emotion you can't sort of, draw it out of somebody in an interview necessarily. And so I was constantly trying to find those sort of moments that really spoke to my strength as a storyteller, which is the vérité, in conversation with the sort of the need to keep the thing going. And I think it was the collaboration with Ryan and EP. I didn't talk to Steph at all. I think he gave one note on the film. It was mostly with Eric and Ryan. And my partners on the team, Allison Joy Gale is here, one of our producers, and Sean Havey, and our incredible editor, J.D. Marlowe. It was a complete collaboration, and that's what the film feels different than a lot of the films that I've made because of the strength of that collaboration. Strength in numbers.
Ryan, specifically for you, as someone who works primarily in scripted space, and I know you've been producing more docs, and I know that you didn't direct this, but as a storyteller, I'm curious, what's been the process for you? Just, again, this is a little bit more of a filmmaking nerd out question. What's been the process for you acclimating into this kind of new territory, and like what have you gleaned, or how have you adapted into nonfiction?
He's in the 3rd semester of Pete Nick's documentary university. He's doing very well. No, just.
Yeah, no, I mean, truthfully, I'm still adjusting, still learning, and on this one, it was really like, and I think producing, because I've produced more for fiction things than I have for nonfiction, and I think I've maybe written and directed more movies, but it's catching up. You know what I'm saying? Because you can produce more at the same time. Like Lord willing, AMPTP and SAG figure it out, and we get back to work. I think it'll surpass. Eventually, like and it's really about like I don't know EP like for you or Pete, but it's really about like being honest. And just like helping to facilitate the vision. It's a lot of like, what do you need? you know what I mean? A lot of listening when the filmmaker comes to you asking for what they need or with any kind of concerns. It's a really you work in different muscles for sure. And that can be tough to be on a project with as much at stake as this one, right? It's a lot of trust when they say, "Hey, we want y'all to make the Steph doc." You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of pressure that comes with that, and it is tense when you got a lot of pressure and you're using new muscles. You know what I mean? You feel like a baby giraffe sometimes. I remember one time Pete called me and was like, "I'm worried about the NBA," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm just listening now, right? Like I think I was in post on Panther 2. I was at Disney somewhere, jumped out of a VFX review and like, I'm worried, man. It's there's percentages, man. Like once you have over a certain percent, the NBA charges something egregious, or they own the movie or something. Like and I'm like, well, what's the percent? What's the actual percentage, bro?
10.
Yeah, 10%. It was 10%. Like if we go over 10% of footage shot inside an NBA arena, what happens? Like they come kill it. Or what?
It's an NBA product.
they charge you and they get involved editorially. They have editorial.
Like Adam
control.
Silver's like, "Hey, yo, what's up? So what's happening with my movie?"
Adam's like, I think we should do a cross dissolve with this scene.
Yeah. So about my movie, yeah. So I was like, bro, like I remember doing the math, and I'm like on my whiteboard, I'm like, yeah, okay, Pete, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, and we hang out the phone, I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this movie gonna be? like if you know,
I think we were at like probably 40%. We felt we needed 40% of NBA footage in there.
I'm like, yo, this is a movie about a basketball player. We can't, you know, like I just couldn't, you know, but I couldn't panic. You know what I mean? I had, you know, like, but, and you were just venting, like you were just venting, and like kind of like giving me the information, like that this is.
Was I upset? Was I like?
I don't
even remember that.
You weren't upset. You were just kind of like, yo, this is what's happening. You know what I mean? Like there's this percentage.
No, I remember. It was terrifying.
Classic filmmaker.
No,
Pete.
I figured Ryan would just call Adam Silver and be like, Adam, I heard you like Black Panther. Well, I just need a favor.
He's gonna be like, what's that? Yo, so but yeah, like, but I mean, you look at the movie and you're not even thinking about these you know these percentages. You know, like you're thinking about, man, when am I gonna see Steph's grandma again? You know what I mean? Like, and you know, but it's an exhilarating experience, man. And just the feeling of being at Sundance with y'all.
Oh man,
you know,
beautiful.
And people seeing it for the first time, getting to have like a front row seat, you know, and I mean, I put that up there with any premiere I ever been a part of, you know. It was just magical, man.
Yeah. I've been told I have to go to audience questions, but I do have one more before we do that, because I think what you're saying is really interesting, and it makes me actually think about the title of the film itself. I think there's something very different between, like, this, like, underrated evokes a lot more than underdog. And I'm curious if anyone wants to take this idea of, like, because to me it's about perception. Like, there's a part of me that's like watching this and I'm like, why am I holding tension still watching this film? I know who Steph Curry is.
Yeah.
You know, I played basketball. I was really short. Steph Curry is like, you know, a hero. So, but I already know what the outcome is, but I hold attention because for me, it's like I'm waiting for other people to recognize. And that's the tension of the perception of someone's skill set. And sometimes it just needs to be fostered by a community or whatever it may be. So I'm curious for you all, like, when you think about it in its totality and the title underrated, I'm curious what the resonance there is.
Yeah, for me, and I actually I'll just steal it from Stefan because I'm sure you guys want to know what he thinks. So, it's funny, we were in New York promoting the movie, and he was at Complex. We were in the back room, in the green room, and Aisha was like, Stefan, you're not underrated anymore. And he was like, with a dead serious face, he said, I will always be underrated. I will always feel underrated. It is in me to feel underrated, and that is who I am, and it's the way that I live my life because it's part of me, and that's why I can constantly achieve more and more, and that's what gets me up every day, and that's why you saw that last scene of him practicing over and over and over again. And so when I'm in those moments of seeing somebody that's had 4 championships and 2 MVPs and like so many things, it's like, okay, that's really what underrated, you know, I pull from that, right? And I think the company does and everybody does, and I think that's really what underrated means within the film to me. It's a reflection of truly who he knows who he is.
Any questions out in the audience? I think your hand was up first here. Yeah, go ahead. Jean Jacket.
Hi guys, Juliana J. Bolden, Black Tree TV. I really enjoyed a lot of the exteriors and was curious, was there a concerted effort to make each of the cities that had a little bit of part in Steph's life an equal character of weight in this thing? Because I saw Oakland, I saw San Francisco, I saw Davidson, and my heart just started palpitating when I saw the beautiful shot of the snow. I really felt like I was in each of these worlds, and I was just curious, was that something that came after the rest of the story came together, or did you try to balance out all of the places where Steph became Steph?
I mean, a lot of it goes, like, you know, whenever I'm making a film. I usually put up like on a board or put up on the wall like the theme, like what is this about, and community is a big one. Family is another one, and as you're sort of making choices in the film, you always want to try to answer that central question or speak to that central theme. And so that idea of place was very important in Steph's story, what the place meant to him, and also this notion of how he sort of moved around was important. And of course our editor J.D. Marlowe and Sean Havey, who's not here, who shot the film, did an incredible job. Plus the archival, we had a lot to work with in terms of being able to answer to those themes of community and place.
Go ahead. Right up front. Yep.
Hello. My name is Kason Suggs, but I had a question about, it seemed like obviously the movie's about underrated and basketball, but there's like an undertone kind of going on with what you're saying about family. Like there's a lot of interviews, like in lieu of celebrity interviews, there are a lot of like dads, grandmas, cousins, like, and so much shots of their kids too. And I thought that was I really paid attention to that. Why did you think that was so important to include?
It's just, I don't think it's a coincidence. If you think about sort of Ryan's work, it's very much about family. My work is a little bit more oriented toward community. And what I saw in this film immediately was a combination of those two things. And I don't know, Ryan, if at what point that became evident to you, or what you thought this would be, or never actually asked you that.
Nah. Yeah, I had no idea what the film was going to be. I just figured it would be good. And no, Pete has a thing, man. When he gets on movies, crazy shit happens. Like whatever, every time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm usually just like a bystander. I'm like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? He'll tell me, hey, I was on this movie and then this happened and I was right there and I caught it. So I had a feeling. I'm like, yeah, this shit's probably gonna get crazy and weird, And we ended up just winning the whole thing, in the craziest fashion. And the craziest part about this is Pete hasn't mentioned this, but he's from Boston. He's a Celtics fan. We ended up playing the Celtics, you know what I'm saying, and winning the chip in Boston. You know what I mean? While he's making the film, I don't know if he's happy.
We were there.
Sad.
Poor Paolo over there, my son.
Yeah.
Wave your hand, Paolo. He bravely walked into the Boston Garden sporting the Warriors colors.
Ooh.
And if you've ever spent any time in Boston,
yeah,
so
it was crazy. So that's kind of what happened. And I was on Pete's ass. I'm like, bro, get Allen Iverson in this movie. You know, so I'm telling him hey, yo, get Drake in the movie. He can talk about, you know what I'm saying, and I got it all already. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey man, I'm trying to coordinate with because I'm just thinking from and Pete's like, hey,
Drake
bro,
was ready too.
He was ready, yeah. He was like, y'all, I'll talk about how he kicked y'all ass in 2017, but and then Pete like, hey man, just watch the cut, man. He's like, y'all do it, man. I'll interview whoever, but just watch the cut. I don't know if Drake's gonna fit into this. And I'm like, all right, bro, I trust you, and I watched it, man, huh? No. I watched it, bro. No, Zinzi watched it first. My wife and partner, she watched it and just came out of the room just wet faced, yo, this movie's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Just crying all over. So I watched it finally at the at Disney doing post on Black Panther, and my assistant Amara is here, and I remember I came out of there and I was like, bro, you gonna love this movie, it's just the storytelling of, what it means to I think it's about family, it's about community, but what I found in it is just, Coach McKillop, that moment where Steph's mom says, hey Coach, we'll fatten him up for you, before, and he says, no, it's all good, we'll take him just as he is right now. That is probably the most profound example of leadership that I've seen distilled, in a context it could be extrapolated. You can extrapolate family leadership, business, whatever. But the idea of this person is good enough right now, without shifting, without changing, I can use this person. And what that decision meant for basketball. We living in a world where Brian hit 4 or 5 threes last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole.
And I was mad every time he took a three. I was like, dude, you think you
yeah.
can hit it every time,
And
but
it goes
I ain't
in.
prove me wrong.
Yeah. but not like this coach having faith in this guy. Yeah. Changed the way even the Giants play. You know what I'm saying? You'll see Jokic pull up for a 30-footer, and that just off that faith. You know what I mean? In that moment, I think that was when it shifted. So for me, I thought that was just an amazing distillation of the power of visionary leadership.
I think we have time for one more, and this gentleman is standing up.
So,
Go ahead.
I just want to say, Pete, I love this movie. I saw this movie twice at Sundance, and I think there's so much more this movie says. It's about Steph Curry, but I think it's kind of about everybody never giving up on your dreams and going for it. And speaking of family, I brought my son here. I want him to see this movie. So
How'd you like it?
I loved it.
All right. Thank you, bro.
That's great. So I just want to say, this is when you guys, because it's up for an Academy Award, or it's going to be, I think. If you guys are up there, what are you guys going to say?
I think you're jinxing the process, right?
No. I got my speech worked out. I'm gonna thank my son Paolo over there, my dog Brooklyn, my doggy. Waves her tail every time I come in and I'm feeling down. She lifts me up.
But this is for everybody, right? This movie's not just about fans and stuff.
Yeah, it is, and I think the underrated thing. It's like I feel underrated. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I've been doing this thing for 4 years.
It's
and
called working in nonfiction.
All the people get attention are like movie stars and like Marvel movies and explosions and stuff like that. And like, what about documentaries? Like, do people pay attention to docs? So thank you. It's a universal.
I'll pay attention, Pete.
I know. I love you, bro. But it's like my experience trying to like lift up, like my community of nonfiction filmmakers is the same as anyone who's ever, dreamed of something or tried to do something. Everyone's had a moment where they've not been seen, where they've been overlooked or not understood. Sometimes it's in a marriage, relationship. It's universal.
Continue.
And I wanted to tap into that sense, and it is for everybody because I think everybody can relate to this on some level, and sometimes the stakes are higher than others, and sometimes it's not just in the field of play, in sport. Sometimes it's in life, and the stakes are real. But we need to be able to see each other in our communities, in our families, in our country, and it's a really important notion, and I hope. If I were to make that speech and if I were to say one thing that I hope we can all take away, it is that.
Great note to end on. And thank you all for coming, and thank you all for this lovely film. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.